Hey, good morning, Bella Vista. We are back with In with Flynn. And if you'll notice, the mayor has a new look. You want to tell us about that? Is that to get in touch with In with Flynn or what?
Well, actually, when I first became mayor, I had a little bit of skin cancer and had an operation on it. First few shows I had a Band-Aid, big Band-Aid on, and it caused a little bit of damage under my eye. It wasn't really as serious. We were able to clear up the cancer, no problem. Caused a little damage under my eye, and people kept saying, lingered for quite a few months. People kept saying, "Hey, have you been socked in the eye?" So I went back and had that cleaned up late last week, but I have a little peripheral damage waiting for it to clear up. So I thought it'd be smart to wear sunglasses today so I didn't scare the audience.
Well, I like the new look. You look like a rock star, somebody
Yeah.
said earlier. Yeah. Speaking of that, you and the council and your team are doing an awful lot of really great, I'd like to use the word corrective, but it's more like updating, I think, things. And the first topic is this new zoning study, right?
Yeah, we've had this on the schedule for this year, and we're going to have a zoning study of the entire city. And what's going to happen is, it was approved by the Planning Commission a few days ago, as you know, and it's going to be a study of the entire city and how everything should be zoned. And that way we'll get everything straightened around to be as best as it can be. One of the things we hired outside professionals to do that. And one of the things that they look at, a lot of different factors, but one of them is the 2040 plan. And what was the plan for the city and what's the best way for zoning to integrate with that. We just had a few things. The zoning was done quite a few years ago. And we had a few things with it that were just a little out of place. And one example I like to use, at the corner of Lancashire and Forest Hills, there's a gas station. And it's zoned R1, which is residential.
Still?
Yeah, there's things like that that just don't make sense and don't fit with what's planned or what's happening even. And of course, the POA noticed that with some of their things they've been going through the last year or so, trying to get things zoned.
26 things, I think.
Yeah, more appropriately.
Yeah.
But so we thought it'd be good to take a look at the whole thing and try to get the whole thing straightened around. And I think it's something really needed to be done, and we're happy about it. It is a big project. In fact, the outside timeline for this schedule is 18 months. So that would put you around February of 2025 when they're completed. And it's going before council just this week. So that's assuming they pass it, which I'm confident they will. They all know about it. And, as I say, the Planning Commission approved it. So we feel good about that. And, that 18-month thing reminds me of just a general subject. And that is what I really noticed. Of course, I was on city council 8 years, but since I've been mayor, is in municipal government, things take time.
Yes. So government, that's the key word.
Yeah. So you get things going, and you have construction projects. A lot of people have noticed about the bridges and things like that. And, there's all kinds of potential for delays, of course. But things take time, and what ends up happening is you plan this, you plan that. Before you know it, you've got 8 or 10 balls in the air. You're all juggling at once because, and I find being mayor, you have to have resilience, and you also have to have patience.
Yes.
Not everything happens as fast as you might hope, but we try to move things along as best we can.
Well, and things change even during, so sometimes it's good to have a little bit of delay. Let's talk about that corner where the roundabout used to be the bridge over 71, okay?
Yeah.
And the hillside coming down the hill kept having rocks falling on everything. And had that not been delayed, they wouldn't have realized that they needed to terrace that thing so people didn't get inundated with rocks.
Yeah, that was obviously a very important change and
Yeah.
a big project.
Mhm.
That was a lot of work they did to get that new freeway through, and I thought it came out very nice, but it was definitely a big project
Yes,
and took some time for sure.
that's
Yeah.
right. And you know, in defense of the city, when they first started up, because we talk about this a lot in the planning commission, you know, at the last minute, it's let's get the city up and rolling. So a lot of ordinances and little pieces and parts were actually taken from surrounding cities and kind of put into our ordinances. We're now realizing that they don't necessarily, all of them, apply to Bella Vista. For instance, something that happens in Springdale may be cool for them, but it doesn't work for our terrain here, you know, things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So so that's exciting to me, along with the zoning study. Those things are being corrected. And I know you guys are working hard on looking at ordinances to also upgrade some of those that are not applicable or things have changed so much. So,
Yeah, one of the real advantages a lot of people don't realize about the planning commission, and I know you do because you're on it. But things will come up. People will ask for variances, and Daniel Ellis, the head of the planning commission, points out, when you keep getting the same variances over and over, maybe that's a sign you need to look at the ordinance. Maybe there's something that isn't quite right here, and a lot of improvements are made, but it takes time. It's a little at a time. We notice something that's not quite right, and the coordination between the city and the planning commission is really important. You realize after you've worked with them for a while, and figuring out, hey, maybe we've got a problem here, and how are we going to approach this, and it's encouraging to see the improvements made in the ordinances and making them work better for people and work better for the community.
that's
So,
right. And what a lot of people don't understand either is that with variances and things like that, the Planning Commission has authority to do that if the if for instance the person that's bringing the variance doesn't like it, they can always take it to the city council if they want. But the Planning Commission does not make decisions on ordinances. We only make recommendations to move it on to council, and council's the one that changes or updates the ordinances.
yeah, that's true. That's a very good point. And once in a while, we don't do what the planning commission says, but the great majority of the time we do, because people on the planning commission have special expertise and usually have given it a lot of study. So it's actually helpful to council to have somebody like that, studying things and bringing it to them and saying, hey, here's something, here's what we think you should do. So.
Another person in particular, I know it's the team, but Taylor Robinson is really doing a great job. She is looking for holes and making recommendations. So you've got a good team there at the Community Development Services.
Yeah, that is an important area, that part of the city. And I think with some of the things happening at the city, that's a pretty busy area, and I think they're about to get busier because there's just a lot of things happening. And
Yes.
Well, I thought it was interesting. Last year we had 22 or so ordinances the entire year, and this year we have 40 some already. I think 48 have already. So we were all pretty surprised at the level of activity. There's just a lot of things happening, and that scares citizens sometimes. Oh no, they're passing a lot of laws, but a lot of it has to do with zoning and trying to improve things for people, and
making it easier.
yeah, maybe making
permits.
things better or more clear or whatnot. So it's been interesting what a busy time it's been, and what really impressed myself and the new city clerk Wanda Krug. Our very first meeting, we set a record, which we wouldn't even have realized. The city attorney pointed out to us. It was the most items on the agenda ever in the city of Bella Vista. It was something like, it was almost the whole alphabet. I think it was like 24 or 25 items. And it was her very first meeting. She's just figuring out how to, put it all together.
Well,
So,
you throw them in and they learn on the job,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, anyway, you've got a great team there. Let's talk a little bit about another. I'm not going to use the word controversial because it isn't. It's a fact, it's progress, etc. But there are some additional trail extensions, not new trails necessarily, but extensions or connectors that will be coming to council. They've passed the muster of the POA, and now they're coming to you guys.
Yeah, the POA passed it in July, as you know, and it's 7 actually trail changes or additions, a little bit of both. And some of them are to the back 40, which is on the east side, and some of them are on Little Sugar, which is on the west side, near west side. Some people call part of that central.
Yes.
Depends how you look at it, I guess. But the point of most of those are more friendly to beginners, more like beginner loops, and also they're smaller loops. Sometimes people don't want to go 10 miles, maybe they want to go in a little old loop. And there's a lot of people that hike the trails rather than ride bikes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really being responsive to what the people want and what the trail users want. And I give the trailblazers credit for kind of studying what's happening and what's there, and seeing changes that are made. We've even had cases where citizens, as the POA well knows, citizens come up and say, hey, we'd like to have a trail connector over here, and then it would connect our neighborhood. And
To stores and to
yeah.
each other, etc.
Yeah, so it's kind of neat to see some of the adjustments taking place, and that's going to be before City Council. I first thought it would be in September, but I think it's going to be in August next week that we'll be able to get a look at that and try to move that along. So, and there was a little confusion on that. Some people, the estimated cost I think was around $2 million, and some people thought the POA was voting to pay for that. But it's the same as the other trails, where the Walton Foundation and people like that are funding the trails. And the city and the POA just are involved with upkeep. And so far the cost has been very modest. One thing has really helped Bella Vista. They've always had a group of volunteers to work on the trails. But it's been growing and growing. I think it's something like 380 people now, and
Yes.
it's way larger than the
Yes.
volunteer organizations in Bentonville and some of the other cities on their trails. Interestingly enough, ours is the most active by far. That makes a big difference. If they're helping to keep the trail up, then the city and POA don't have to spend as much money on it. So
That's right.
yeah.
So for everybody that really believes that, oh my goodness, we're doing 7 more potential trails, connectors, loops, it's really not that much more maintenance because the trailblazers take care of it for the first 3 years or something like that, and then we have all these groups.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. It's just not for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that $2 million, because no way.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Oh, I like this next subject. This is another good thing that I think you and your counselor are doing. And there is going to be a safe septic educational meeting.
Yeah, September actually is Safe Septic Month.
Anyway?
I think there's in the whole country, and there's a particular week for it. And so we're really we've been trying to work harder on septic education, because we realize a lot of times people come here from other places and buy a home that's on septic and don't really realize what needs to be done. And so we're working hard on the education piece, and we thought this was a good opportunity. September. I believe it's September
21?
21st. Yeah, in the evening, they're planning to have an educational meeting. They had one about a year and a half ago, and it was very well attended. And they're going to have it at the district court because they need a nice big room for it. And it's very helpful. They get people from Arkansas Department of Health and some septic experts come in and just explain what's all involved. Because it's like a lot of things with your home. If you do some preventative maintenance and keep it up and pay attention to it, it works a lot better and prevents maybe you having some big problem or big expense down the road. So actually several things are happening with septic. We've also noticed, working with Department of Health, the city has noticed um, that there's a challenge sometimes with builders, and a lot of the builders do fine, everything's perfect, but some of them just lack of knowledge, or there'll be landscapers, different subcontractors involved. They've been doing things like running over the septic field and crushing the
The
lines
tank,
or
the
hurting
lines.
the soil for, the Department of Health comes in and approves you for septic if the soil's okay. Well, then if you come in and do too much, messing around with it, it might not be okay. We've had a few people with new homes and the septic failed fairly early on, which of course that's not good for anyone. It's not good for the homeowner or the builder or the neighbors. So we're looking at, and I think the Planning Commission might be involved in this too, maybe looking at some new rules, maybe taping off the area or something so people realize, hey,
Yes.
we can't just,
Yes.
run wild here, even when we're building the house on this particular area. So that's one thing we're doing. The other thing, we're still looking at the subject matter of seeing if we can get more of the city on sewer. And we've had a few preliminary meetings with Village Wastewater, who runs the sewer in Bella Vista. And they're adding about 100 people on sewer each year. There's 3,600 homes on sewer, and so that leaves about 11,000 not on sewer. And, it's a matter of being able to run lines to places where people can hook into it and that sort of thing. So, we're looking at what's the best strategy, the best way to move that forward. And it's one of those things that's costly for the city and it's costly for the homeowner. But in the long run, we need to get more people on sewer than we have right now. And it's something I'd like to look at, trying to move the ball forward on that. So there's really three different things happening having to do with septic and sewer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that new division that Cooper is doing up off of Garden Hollow, the bigger lots and things like that, I believe that's going to be on sewer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Which is fabulous.
Yeah.
I guess there's only a certain part of Bella Vista right now because of the location of the plant and all that, it's going to be a while.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big project, a big expense. So it's a financial challenge for sure. And, but one thing they're finding is, we have the rule that if you sell your house and the line's there, you have to hook up the septic. But builders in particular, building new homes, are quite enthused about being on sewer rather than septic right from the start.
Yes.
So they're trying to figure out a way to, we want to run lines where the older homes are because they're going to need to either get a new septic or convert to sewer or something in the future, short-term future. And and the other thing is to run lines where new homes would be, because they're very enthusiastic customers. I bought a new home in Bella Vista in 2005, and it's on sewer. And to you, the home buyer, it's an invisible transaction. You're buying a house, you're paying X dollars, and obviously part of that price must have been for the sewer that was put in, but you don't.
Yeah.
When it's all in with the transaction, you don't see it so much. So it's not, oh my gosh, I have to spend an extra $7,000, or you know what I mean? It's just
part of the deal.
Yeah, and people like it. Even home buyers like it, because it's much more flexible how big a house you can build and things like that, and what you can do with your lot. You don't have to worry about the lines being out back, and I can't put a shed over here
or a
because
tree
this
or
line's
whatever.
here. Yeah. So it takes away a lot of problems.
It does. It really does. Well, anyway, again, another long-term thing, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Nothing that's worthwhile is super easy anyway.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is selling the facts and the truth, so that the public understands this is not a scary, bad thing.
Yeah.
So, and you have always encouraged, as do I, come to the meetings, come to the council meetings, listen to what's really going on, voice your opinion, get it clear up front.
Yeah.
So, Okay, well, I think we're getting maybe the old Shredder's restaurant is going to be new now.
Yeah, they have a new restaurant planned, and it's called Fox Trail. This is in the old American Legion building, which
Mm-hmm.
is next to the History Museum. So it's right on 71. And we are going to have a new restaurant coming in there shortly. So I think people will be enthused about that. It seems like a good location.
Mm-hmm.
It's, on the main street there. So and the building's been fixed up. So I feel like it has a good potential to do well. So,
Yeah, and I think the guy that's actually running it is a resident of Bella Vista, and he is a professional. He knows what's going on. So
hmm
all we can do is hope
yeah,
and wait and see and support them because in
yeah,
Bella Vista, people want restaurants, people want things, but if you don't support them, they're going to fail.
yeah, yeah.
So we need to take care of our community.
hmm Yeah.
Okay, so fire station number 5.
Yeah, we are starting to plan for a new fire station, number 5. And, the fire chief always plans well ahead and tries to figure out locations. It's a real strategy with fire stations. You put them in different places around the city, and you're figuring who's covering what fire-wise and, of course, also ambulance-wise. And he's made some really good improvements in the past. We started fire station number 4, which is on Forest Hills,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course we've just built a new number 3 over on Glasgow because the old number 3 was so small it couldn't have a fire truck and an ambulance both in it. So we have that upgraded one over on Glasgow,
Mm-hmm.
and of course number 1 is right by City Hall, right in
Mm-hmm.
the center of is 71 in Lancashire. Number 2 is over on the east side. Um, I guess that would be on Commonwealth and Trafalgar. So for number 5, he's looking in the first thing we have to do is find land. He's looking in the south. I would characterize the south central part of Bella Vista, near 70. It could be on the east or west of 71, but near 71 in Oldham,
Oh,
or
that the Chelsea
yeah,
Oldham area.
or over on the
Yeah.
east side, maybe just past the elementary school on Dartmoor, something like that. So he's looking, trying to find a good location there. He needs, if it's on septic, he needs 3 acres. And if it's on sewer, 2 acres. So you need a significant plot of land for a fire station. But yeah, I just thought I'd mention that as one of the future things coming up.
Sure.
He's building the fire station training tower, and we're rehabilitating fire station number 1. And this is what I was talking about. You get a lot of different things up in the air at once, and we're looking to start planning fire station number 5. So it's trying to handle the growth of the city and continue to be a safe city and be safe for the residents.
Absolutely. Um, I'm going to ask a question that if you can't talk about it, I understand. Is there anything at all update on the short-term rental issue?
Oh, well, yeah, that's a good question. It's just in litigation, and a hearing hasn't occurred yet. That's why people haven't heard anything. There's been some filings back and forth between our attorney and the plaintiff's attorney, and so we passed that new ordinance, and it's in place. There are over 300 people who have registered under the new ordinance for a short-term rental, and Granicus estimates that the number of short-term rentals existing is even higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
That there's a pretty fair amount of them. So but that's where we're at with
Okay.
that, and
Okay.
it's really just
No
kind of
news.
pending right now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we have just a few minutes left here, but let's talk about what might be going on around the city.
Yeah. Some of the upcoming events. Uh, there's something called the Northwest Arkansas Festival, and they're still working on getting all their permits and all their ducks in a row, so to speak. But it's scheduled to be September 22 to 24, and it's in the field off of Forest Hills Boulevard, same place the craft fair used to be. It's a large field, actually owned by Cooper over there, and their plan is they have 131 craftspeople lined up, which this is their first year, so I thought that was pretty impressive. And they're going to have a barbecue contest, and they're going to have a live band Friday and Saturday night. So they're trying to have a lot of different things. One of the things they did that was interesting to see how it works out. The old craft fair used to be in October,
Mm-hmm.
and this one they purposely picked the same weekend as Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue, which is in Rogers. And also that same weekend, I believe, is the Format Festival, which is outside of Bentonville.
Yeah.
So we might have a fair amount of traffic in Northwest Arkansas
You
that
might
weekend.
need to add something to the police force.
But they thought they purposely picked a time when other things were going on, thinking that might choose the crowd. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. It's a big challenge running something like that, especially the first time this is actually a new event. So.
Well, you're surprised, or maybe you won't, but my next show, right after you and I talk today, is Let's Talk About It, and David Edwards, who's running that, is my
very
guest.
good.
So
Yeah.
he's going to be very proud that you have promoted his
Yeah.
event, for
So.
sure. Okay, and then I think the Wiener Dog Race.
Yeah,
right?
that's on Saturday, October 14th. That's always an amazingly popular event if you go out there. I think it's probably going to be at the park by Loch Lomond again. That's where it was last year. And it's amazing what a big crowd they get and how much fun people have. It's a lot of vendors and booths, and but they've kind of branched out. I believe they have Wiener Dog races and corgi races. I don't know if it's because of the Queen or what, but corgis seem to have gotten quite popular the last few years. So.
Well, my dog is a mix between the two, so he
really?
can't do either one because he's not a.
You're ineligible, huh?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, and then there's a bike race, about 1,000 participants.
Yeah,
in
on October 15th, there's a bike race on Little Sugar, and it's pretty big race. It has different distances, and it has about 1,000 people lined up. So I think that'll be a fun event for people, and a lot of that'll be, because being on Little Sugar, it's a newer trail. It'll probably be new to some of the racers and whatnot. So that should be a fun event.
Do you ride a bike? I can't remember. Do you bike at all?
No, I don't. I walk on the trails, but
Not even with an e-bike?
I decided I needed to stop taking up new sport. I've played tennis for many years. In fact, I was on the tennis team in high school and college, and I played golf and started to play a little more since I've lived in Bella Vista. And a lot of people were always trying to egg me on to take up pickleball, which I think is a neat sport, very popular. But I didn't think I had the bandwidth for another sport.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, you have a lot of sporting just being the mayor.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, we have a couple other things. Just can you give us the cliff notes on the bridges, just quickly?
Yeah, the Mercy Way Bridge was substantially completed, as they said, in early August 2, I believe. And they're still working. Appears to me they're working, the 4 lanes are open on the bridge, which is really nice for traffic. Looks like they're doing a little finishing touches. One thing they did was nice is they have a sidewalk on one side, because there's never any way to walk across that bridge. You just about took
Not
your
unless
life
you have
in your hands.
If you have a death wish, maybe.
Yeah. And then the other side has a bike path, which is cordoned off from the highway, which I like quite from the traffic lanes. And those 2 things they're still doing some finishing touches on. But the latest thing they told us on that was September 20.
Okay.
Because originally it's going to be September 1. But boy, the bridge looks really nice, and it's, paved, and very nice look to it. And then, of course, the bridges everyone always asks me about are the ones the state's working on. And they have a new person over that. I think it's about the 3rd person. His name's Mr. Bushy. And he's still indicating that the Tanyard Creek will be done this summer. And the Little Sugar Bridge, which is the bigger one closer to the intersection, I guess, at 71 in Lancashire, they're talking more like early summer 2024. So it's got quite a ways to go. But most of the questions I get are on
the state?
Well,
on
the one Tanyard Creek.
Oh, yes.
Because it's got the detour
Yes.
and whatnot.
Well, we're about out of time, but I know what you're going to be doing next. You're starting the 2024 budget very soon, aren't you?
Yeah, we're starting work on that, and that's always a big project in the fall. And I've been very pleased with the people at the city, the uh, administration, and how great they are to work with. And I feel like we're going to be able to put together a good budget. So far, I'm always monitoring the results of this year, but so far, the city sales tax and the county sales tax is up a little from the prior year. Well, city's up 4%, county's up about 8%,
Okay.
which considering supposedly this is a recession year, is pretty. I think Northwest Arkansas is doing a little better than most places. That's the impression I get.
Yeah. Well, we are out of time for today, but you know what? I look forward to this every month because I really like to stay in tune with what's going on in the city and the POA and everything because it just feels good to know and have the facts.
Right.
But can't wait till next month.
Mm-hmm.
See what you come up with.
Well, great. Thanks. It's
Thank
always
you.
great visiting with you and summarizing what's going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, you are now in the know with In with Flynn and the new rock star look. See you next time.